Hello and welcome to today's episode of Platinum Talks Wealth. Emmy Nominated journalist Jennifer Rogers Markwell changed gears in her television career when she realized the need to help women make sense of investing. She regularly hosts educational workshops to empower women and others to take charge of their financial future. Now, join your host, Platinum Wealth Management President Jennifer Rogers Markwell, as she leads us into the world of money memories, money infidelities, and how these can mold our relationship with our personal finances as adults. Let's dive into today's episode.
Hi, it's Jennifer Rogers Markwell, and you're joining us on the Platinum Talks Wealth podcast. And today I'm joined by Nancy Hornback. Very excited to have you, Nancy.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
So with Nancy, I've known Nancy a very long time, and we've, lived and worked and dreamed in the TV world as well, right? However, getting to know Nancy is the budgeting queen. Passion of budgeting, which you think, what? What? But that's a thing, and you are the budgeting queen. So tell us all the things, Nance.
I am the budgeting queen, and I have been passionate about budgets for a very, very long time, about making sure that I'm never in debt, all of that. So I help people, and I have for a long time. It started out really as a volunteer effort, really. Let me go back for 1 second. So it really started with my second marriage to my husband. He started out and had some debt that came in. He's like, you can't pay my debt up. I'm like, okay. I thought we have to get a budget. We have to know what we're doing. So I started out by taking Crown Financial Ministries course, which really teaches the budgeting aspect of things, also about debt and really puts in the perspective of what things are and what's really important. And then from there, I made my very first budget ever. And that was when I was 40 years old. That was my very first budget. And then from there, as soon as that happened, it was really interesting because it took me probably about 9 months to a year to really get the handle on my budget, to really understand it. But then I started helping other people get out of debt, helping them find their money, to find this piece that really does come with knowing where your money is. And so instead of your money always leading you around, you are leading the money around. That's the big thing. So it was it was just a give back for me. And then just recently, I didn't realize it could be a thing. So I got certified through the Dave Ramsey coaching program. And then I've been coaching ever since. And it's just been really amazing to watch my clients. And I can say with clarity and certainty that 100% of my clients so far have gone from being in the red every month to having their budgets flipped upside down, and now they're in the black. Every single one of them. I'm super proud of them, not me, because I don't do it. I just help guide them, and they get to be the hero in their own story.
In the world of television, or even deeper for you, the world of entertainment across the board, because you've done fantastic things, which I'd love you to share too. I feel like there's a mindset with a lot of folks, whether that be folks who are in news, folks in entertainment, folks on Broadway, all the things, right? Who sometimes live paycheck to paycheck, right? You're struggling, you're a starving artist to a certain extent, depending on what level of success you've seen or not seen. Budgeting is not normally the first thing folks would lean into, or financial literacy, or any of that, right?
Not at all. It's so funny because if I ask somebody about budgeting or do you have a budget? They're like, oh, no. They'd rather eat, a worm than do a budget. It's just they get all not a chance. And me, I'm like, oh, I love the budget. It's so fantastic. And so I really, truly get jazzed up about it. And so, yes, in the entertainment space. So prior to my actually ever even having a budget, I was only in debt one time in my life. And that was in my first marriage. And because my dad always said, don't ever, ever be in debt, ever. And so my first marriage, I got into a little bit of debt. It was $1,000 on a credit card debt. Well, it freaked me out. And my first husband was like, well, that's your debt. You have to take care of it. I'm like, okay. So I actually went and got 2 jobs, and I was teaching voice at the time. I was working at a Fox affiliate in Indianapolis, and then I got I got a waitress job at the Cheddar's. So I worked really hard to get that paid off immediately, and I've never had credit card debt since. And any other debt. The only other debt we have is just has been a mortgage debt, and I'm trying to actually. That's one of my goals is to get that off of our list. But, and I've always said to anyone that just wants to go into entertainment, but it's always, you got to do without. You got to be okay with not having the best of everything. And I had a friend that she would get into my closet because I used to live in New York City, and she would get in my closet and she'd be like, Nancy, what is this sweater from 1970? And I'm like, yeah, it is. And it's perfectly fine. There are no holes in that thing. It's clean. It's fine. It's in good condition. And I don't need any other clothes. So I didn't buy clothes. I didn't buy anything. I bought super cheap. I made sure that I was always that I was taking in more that I was letting out. And I did a lot of scrimping and saving, and I lived at a little tiny place. When I say New York City, I lived in Times Square, but I lived in a little bitty room that was, I don't even know that it was 120 square feet. And that had a bathroom and a 2-burner stove and a college size refrigerator in that. And I had a loft bed that if I sat up, I would smack my head on the top of the ceiling. It was I didn't have any place to put a desk or anything else or clothes. So what I say is live below your means. That's really super important. And that's what I did throughout my entire career as in entertainment too.
So what would you say your first money memory is? I mean, obviously your dad's, telling you don't get in debt, don't get in debt. Was that your first money memory, or do you have a different one?
Well, I would have to say that it was always making sure that all the lights were off. This all has to do with money because it was all about my dad. No lights are left on. We saved tinfoil. You save saran wrap. You make sure that every single bit of the ketchup is out of the bottle, and mustard and mayonnaise and whatever, any condiments whatsoever. So that is how I live my life still to this day. That is so ingrained in me. And I was helping my daughter. I wasn't helping her. She was doing it herself. I have a 13-year-old. And she was making these protein cookies today. And she just let something spill out, some of the super expensive maple syrup out on the counter. And I'm like, no, we don't do that. You're going to scoop up that thing and you're going to put it right back in there, because I want to make sure that I am conserving everything I possibly can and not just being wasteful of everything. And that is my earliest memory that I will not ever abandon. That is for sure. Just really quickly, a funny story. So I used to be a host on a home shopping channel, and I had a lot of philosophy. If you guys have ever heard of the philosophy, the shower gel, the bath shampoo and shower gel. And I have loads of it. And I'd have big, ginormous bottles of this stuff. And it gets down, and there's maybe a little bit like that much left. I have that thing flipped over. And by the very end, I got my finger up in the hole up there and going, got to get every single bit of that out, even though I have 25 bottles still to go. I'm like, I'm it all out. That's just me. I can't help it. So that's my earliest money memories. And it's probably what has served me very well over all these years.
Oh, I love that, because I feel like my Graham, right? So Papa Graham were the same way, right? Cans that they had forever. I remember cleaning out their cabinet full of cans, and they were so, I don't know if I've ever shared this story with you. They were so mad at me because there were cans in there that were bloated cans. And I was like, guys, if you're going to go for a good reason, not because you got something from a bloated can of corn. You know what I mean? No. And so I remember taking a garbage bag, and I was putting cans in this garbage bag, and they were so mad at me, so mad. And I was like, I will replace every can I'm getting rid of. But in their mindset, they were depression kids, right? So it was we are going to stockpile this food. We are going to have this. We are going to be good, and we are comfortable. So for them, that was a super important point. And that I'll always remember that too. They were on a budget, and they were just the best, right? Like they did the best of like taking care of me and like always making sure that I had whatever I needed. But those were pivotal like points for them that were so important to have food, always to have food, because it was tough for them back in the day, for their family. They both came from really big families, to be able to have food on the table for all the kids. So I always think back to that, and like being wasteful with food is like my biggest pet peeve. Like it's just like, oh my gosh, like
I totally agree. And buttons are another thing. I save buttons, and I have probably bajillion buttons. Don't know why. That you save thread. It's like, and to your point about my parents my parents went through the Great Depression. And so they were that tail end. And so that's what they learned, all of that. And my dad's family, my dad's grandparents was absolutely dirt poor, like dirt poor. No, an outhouse. They grew up in Kentucky. There was nothing. And then my dad's father really was the one who changed kind of the trajectory of the Hornback family. And he became a professor, actually. He's the first one to go to college. He got into politics, but he did very well for himself. And then the two sons that he had, my dad and his brother, Rex, they went off to be doctors. One was an optician, and my dad went off to be a radiation oncologist. But yeah, just that money thing is so much about money is so, it's mental. It's mental. Yeah. I teach my clients that too, and it's really fun and fascinating to watch them. I'm sorry, just brought up onto a little tangent. Jed, is that okay?
You go.
Okay.
Just go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, because I just thinking about that trajectory of like my great grandparents to my grandparents to my parents, that it is fascinating what happens, because when our minds are messy and we're not believing things, or we're stressed out, or we're freaked out, all you have to do is look at the money, and you'll find out what's going on here in your brain. And I have watched my clients go from freaking out and they will not stop something because they have to have it, from after 4 to 6 to 7 months working with them. All of a sudden their mind shifts. And over time, I watch their stress levels start to go down. Their shoulders go down. The peace starts to really come over them in such a big way. But the beginnings are always such a struggle, because I think I actually, there was an article that was, I wrote for the question was, what is the number one question you should ask your fiance before you get married? And I said, can I ask you 50 questions about your finances? That was my take on it. And my take on it was because we see sex, we're supposed to see sex as the most intimate thing that we do as couples. That's the most intimate thing we do. And yet we'll easily jump into bed with somebody before we've even talked about finances. And that's messed up. It should be finances first. Where are we? We on the same page about saving, about where we want to head, how far in debt are you? How much do you make? What are your feelings about this savings? What about retirement? All of that, because it's so important that you know that and understand that. But it's our culture that we don't talk about money. I have met so many parents and that say, and so not even just parents, but people in general. I was never taught this. I was never taught how to budget. I was never taught how to save money. I was never taught how to do anything that goes along with money. And no wonder we're so illiterate in our country. For financial literacy is awful. It's awful. And so you don't have to be ashamed by that. It's because it's just culturally what has happened in the United States. And I think that that's part of, for me, kind of my mission, if you will, is to just, let's talk about it. Let's get this out in the open. As soon as you shed the light on what's happening in your own financial world, whether it's you got to find out what your debt is. You got to know if there's lurking credit debt that's out there, how much you owe on your student loans, what kind of car loans, and all kinds of debt that you have, what kind of positive things that you have out there that you have no idea. Is there some sort of a I don't know, a savings account that got passed down to you, don't know anything about? Is there some sort of a retirement account that somebody has out there for you? A savings bond, whatever that is. So you got to find that whole picture out. And we can do that, now you can't bury it anymore. You can't unsee it. And that's when you can start to really make the change on that whole thing. It all starts with the brain. It really does.
Yeah. I feel like that kind of leads into, we talk about money memories, right? That's present for a lot of people when you really dig back and you're like, oh, that's why I do what I do, whatever that is. Another thing is money infidelities, which could be as little as you not being impeccable to yourself because you bought some shoes and you were on a budget, or even deeper than that, or, we've heard all the stories, right? So what are some that you've either experienced, heard, or are open to sharing that hopefully folks can learn from?
Okay. My money infidelities, always, I get caught by anything that will make me lose weight. It could be some sort of an exercise equipment, I don't know. It could be some diet pills, something. I always get caught by that, and I know better. I'm like, what are you doing? No, don't do that. And so I would have to say and I think everybody has their money infidelities. You can't help it. You've got a budget here. That's why budget is so important. Rachel Cruz, who is Dave Ramsey's daughter, she likes to say a budget actually gives you permission to spend. So when you have a budget and you start to really clean up your budget and you actually make a line item for your fund money account, that if let's say you're married, or you're with, you have a partnership with somebody and both of you need fund money accounts, you must have that, because then you can go, somebody doesn't have to go, oh, hey, I'd really like to go and get a massage, or hey, I'd really like to buy a, $12,000 pair of shoes. Honey, is that okay? I don't know. Is it in your fund money account? Well, if it's not in your fund money account, you don't get to buy a $12,000 pair of shoes. You just don't get it. Same thing if my husband wanted to go buy a guitar and it was $300, he'd say, honey, can I go buy a guitar? So I don't know. Go look in your fund money account. Is it there? No. And you don't need to buy a guitar. I mean, but honestly, getting those accounts are super important, so you don't have that financial infidelities. Because when somebody does that, and matter of fact, I just recently spoke to somebody who said to me, I shouldn't have done it, but I bought a $30,000 car. Why'd you do that? Well, because I felt like I should have it. Oh, okay. Is there any other car maybe that's out there that isn't $30,000 that could be saved? Maybe something used that you can get for maybe 15 or 20 while you kind of work through your issues. And so she knew right away. And after I said something to her, she said, it's really funny you say that, because I've had 4 other people tell me I should get rid of the car. Because having said that, it's just, oh. So, but money infidelities.
Yeah, but you're not saying, like, I love that you made that point. You're not saying you can't spend money. Just know what you can spend based on your situation, right? So if you are just like money galore, you're in a fantastic place, you're successful, you've saved, you've done all the things, right? And you're like, I'm going to buy blah, blah, which is very expensive, that has a comma, a very large comma in it, right? Potentially. Then good for you. Fantastic. But if you're somebody who's like, oh gosh, I have this situation and I've got this debt, or I'm taking care of this, or I've got this and I've got that, and I want to do this. Well, yeah, maybe that doesn't make the most sense for you now.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's that getting out of debt is so important. So and once you're out of debt, then you can have you get to have that freedom to really do what you want to do. But that in the beginning, and that's something I teach, and I know Dave Ramsey teaches that as well, but something I bring into my own practice is that you have to get a hold of this thing. And if you're going to do this, let's do it now and let it hurt. It's going to hurt. Dave Ramsey he does on one of his talks, it said, it's like, he's all in chains. He's in this one particular section. He's all in chains, like literally in chains. His foot is way up. He's got it around his neck. His arms are all in there. It's like about to fall over. And he says, he said, people come in to see me all the time that they're looking all like this and all twisted up. And they said, Dave, can you get me out of this? And he said, yeah, I can, but it's going to hurt. We're going to have to amputate the Tahoe, he says. And then, doing some of those things. But the idea is, and that's something I do to my clients, it's going to hurt, but it's for a short period of time. If you can really dial this in, be able to work like crazy, sell stuff that you don't need, make some really good, smart decisions, depending upon your situation, because everybody's different. But if you're in massive debt, let's get you out of this as fast as possible. And let's get you downsized and making sure that you are as lean as possible. And every bit of that money is going towards getting rid of that debt. And it's very systematic, the way that I go through debt. It's a little different than what Ramsey teaches, but it's very similar. Because again, I look at holistically, my clients for their situations, and not everyone is the same. So I have to really be very conscious of that. But really taking that time to look at that debt and get out of there. And it's not forever. It's not forever. And I tell my clients that think about it as going through a college class. You're going to learn a life skill that will serve you for the rest of your life. And you can pass this skill down to your children, to your grandchildren, to your friends. I don't care, but you can pass this information down so that other people can get healthy and find their way to financial freedom and financial peace.
Well, gosh, that is a fantastic way to wrap things up right there. But I do always like to ask, what are a few tips or tricks that you utilize in your household to save money? And you've already shared some, right? But what are some other little ones that you do?
I'll tell you, may sound strange, but the biggest, this is not strange, you'll get this, but the biggest budget busters that I see across the board has to do with food and entertainment. And so this is how you can save money, is that if you literally have a line item budget, what is that going to be for food and entertainment? And then you go to the bank and you take that cash out and you put it in envelopes. I know it seems like, it's so old school, but I promise you, if you do that and you keep to that, when that money, that money, pure money is gone, you don't get to spend anything else. You have to go into your pantry and go find out what kind of beans do I have, some rice up in here. Let me see what I got. Because now you're going to have to figure this out because you don't have any more money to spend. And you're not going out to you are not going to be able to go out to that movie or go out to that expensive dinner because you just spent everything. And that really does get you in a good mindset of making that money stretch and stretch and stretch rather than take and put some more into that, right? That's a really, really good tip for saving money, because that's the biggest budget buster.
Yeah, that's a good one. Well, thank you, Nancy, for sharing today. Great to see you and have you share with everyone.
Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure. You know how much I get so jazzed up about talking about this stuff.
I know. And that's why I wanted you to share. So thank you. And thank you all for joining us on this episode of the Platinum Talks Wealth podcast. And we hope to see you all again soon.
If you enjoyed today's podcast, Platinum Talks Wealth, please subscribe and share. For more information about Jennifer Rogers Markwell or Platinum Wealth Management, please visit www.platinumwealth.net. Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member of FINRA and SIPC. The opinions voiced in this podcast are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a decision. The guest speakers and their companies are not affiliated with or endorsed by LPL Financial or Platinum Wealth Management.